Episode number 321, How to Build Your Church Website in a Week with Paul Cox. Let's do it.
This is the definitive podcast for helping you plan, create, and execute dynamic worship experiences at your church. Useful, practical content in the areas of production, worship, communications, first impressions, and more. This is Making Sunday Happen.
Hey guys, this is the definitive podcast for helping you create dynamic worship experiences at your church. You know this by now. It is our goal to give you the tools and the confidence that you need to make Sunday happen at your church, to see people meet Jesus, to start a relationship with Jesus Christ, and also grow in their relationship with Jesus Christ. We want to see life change. You want to see life change happen at your church and your community, and we want to give you the tools and resources and confidence to do that each and every week. Take a minute today and like our podcast and YouTube channel if you would. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're notified of all the new podcast episodes that we will release and all the new videos that we'll put out on YouTube. So be sure to do that. Just hit the notification bell and subscribe to our channel, and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or wherever you consume your podcasts. Today on the show, I welcome Paul Cox. Paul is the owner of The Church Co. He's a great guy. You are going to love hearing from Paul. He was on staff at Hillsong for a number of years. You'll hear a little bit more of that story later on in the podcast. He now leads a team that helps churches create affordable websites. Paul zoomed in from Australia and will be on the show this week and next week. And this week we're going to be talking about your church website, all about church websites, how you can get a website affordably for your church in under a week. So 1 to 2 weeks, Paul's team can knock out a website for you so that you can be up and running. He has a subscription service. I think it's like $20 a month, really affordable for you, no setup fees. So he's really trying to help churches get up and running. We've recommended him multiple times with our ministry on churches looking for a great website. We're also going to talk about the most popular pages on your church website, what that is, why that is, and what you can do to enhance those pages if you already have a website up and running, which a lot of people do. People go to Paul's company, The Church Co., if they want to switch websites, if they want to upgrade and enhance their website. It's a great solution for that. They also put out blogs and resources to tell you and teach you how to enhance your website, how to reach more people through your website. So we're also going to talk about how to automate your website so that there's never outdated stuff on it and more. So lots of great conversation with Paul, lots of great topics all about how to enhance your church website this week. Next week when we have Paul on, again, we're going to talk about local SEO, local search engine optimization. Basically, how do I get my church to show up on the top searches of Google? That is next week. But this week, we're going to do a conversation with Paul all about websites, how to get one up, and how to enhance it. All right, so that conversation with Paul will start right after this. Hey guys, I wanted to take a minute to tell you about our kids site at 1230kids.com. That's 1230kids.com. This is a duplicate of our 1230 media site, but designed solely for children's pastors and leaders. We have a full library of mini movies, games, motion backgrounds, lyric media, title graphics, service packs, social media content, and more, designed specifically with kids in mind. All pre-made, ready for you to just drop right into your presentation software and show to your kids. This is a great site for your children's pastor, children's leaders to pull videos and graphics to help enhance your kids' worship experiences. I want to show you one mini movie that we made recently called Theology for Kids, God. It's a video that you can use to teach your kids who God is. I'm going to let you watch or listen to this video. You can find more just like it at 1230kids.com. That's 1230kids.com. Watch this.
Who is God? God was there before time began. God exists in three parts: God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. God is the creator of all things and made everything in the world. God gives life to all he has made. God is all-powerful. God loves us and hates sin. God sent Jesus to earth to die for us. God raised him from the dead after 3 days. God is in heaven and will welcome Christians to live with him forever. That's who God is.
Hey guys, this week I welcome Paul Cox. Paul is the owner of The Church Co., a great solution for you if you're looking for an affordable website for your church or your ministry. Paul, what's up, man? Nice to finally meet you, buddy.
I know, it's about time. I've seen your name everywhere. I'm glad we can finally chat for a bit.
I know we're in the communities together and kind of pitching each other, but this is the first time we've kind of hooked up. So, man, I appreciate your time and all that you do for the kingdom, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. Same to you. Been following you guys for a while.
Thank you, man. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording. So you are in Australia. You just moved into a new location.
That's right.
So I need to like mail you some pictures on the wall and for stuff like that. Do you need political photos? Do you need flowers? What's best for your wall?
Probably some sound panels. It's a bit boomy in here because I haven't got a chance to kind of add some wall decorations, but hopefully the echo is not too bad.
There you go, buddy.
Some of those over.
There you go. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know, like, every time I talk to somebody from Australia, it's like talking to somebody in the future. Like my today is your tomorrow, right? This is tomorrow for you, I think.
That's true. It's 8 a.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, there you go. So we're still in Monday. So yeah. So there you go. All right. So let's get us started with a little bit of your story. Give us a little bit of your background and how you came to the Church Co.
Yeah. So I originally went to college for software engineering, way back when we were using Flash for all the websites. And then, I got a job at a big tech company, doing web. And I decided, I heard about this college in Australia with Church Hillsong. I decided that I wanted to pursue my dreams of like becoming a worship pastor because I play drums. And so I decided to move to Australia and do Hillsong College for 2 years. And then I stayed for 10 years. So I did Hillsong College. I ended up coming on staff there. I was kind of pivotal in the part when we rebuilt Hillsong.com to kind of like encapsulate all of our brands into one. So I built that website. It's still up today. And during that time, a lot of people would ask about websites. Other churches would email us. Who did your website? Is there someone that could help us with the website? And unfortunately, we weren't able to kind of facilitate helping with other churches at that time because we had a lot on our plate as well. So when I came off staff later, I worked for a nonprofit agency that helped with kind of social justice causes, helped with campaignings, working on fundraisers, and things like that. And so I learned a lot there. and kind of picked up that idea again is, what if there was a tool that could help churches have better websites than they can build themselves? Because, everyone can go and sign up and build your own website, but is it really as effective as a website, that's built specifically for you and specifically for your church to reach more people?
Yeah. And
so that was back in 2015. And I decided, I think I'm going to run with the idea. I'm going to try this for a few months and see if anyone's interested. And it turned out like lots of people were interested, and we've been able to help thousands of churches kind of all over the world now. It's really exciting to watch and kind of see on a Sunday, the servers spike up to, 150, 100,000, 150,000 people that are attending church through the websites each week. And, it's really kind of fun to be a part of that.
I think one thing that you guys provide is affordability too. So it's a subscription model where I can sign up for a monthly thing, and it's not going to cost me thousands and thousands of dollars at the onset, which is the case in a lot of scenarios. So why did you go with that approach, and how has that been able to help churches?
So our biggest goal as a company is that your church would be bigger, because we consider it's the whole what's in your hand, part of the Bible, right? For some people, they're singers. For other people, they're preachers. Other people are good at pastoring people. For me at the time, I'm a software engineer. So it was, how can I use what's in my hand to help fulfill the Great Commission? I know that church budgets are tight. We worked at a church. I've been part of church my entire life. I've grown up in church. So I know the budgets are tight. And so
even at large churches, I was at New Spring, you're at Hillsong. The budgets are still tight. I think a lot of people have a misconception that, mega church, all the money in the world. Not true.
No, we're still running. Too. Yeah, we still got budgets, so it was I really don't want anyone to have an excuse not to have a better website. And the one, the story from where it really came was I saw this large church's site, and it was just, it didn't work on mobile. I was scrolling around and I was like, there has to be a better option. I looked around and there was a few people in the space, but nothing really was high quality. Yeah. And I was like, no excuses. It's $20. And so, we've just put the price there, no setup fee. We include building the website for the church because, again, if we flip this on its head, no pastor wants me to come in and preach Sunday sermons. I'm a software engineer. It's not my skill set. And it's kind of the same, when a pastor sits down and builds their website, unless they have a skill in that's their background. For the most part, when we all use what's in our hand to fulfill the Great Commission, it's going to get fulfilled, at a faster rate. So we just said, no barrier to entry. Let's make this really affordable and no setup cost. We'll give you a team of designers to make it happen. No excuses. We just want churches to have better websites.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's a couple baseline questions here. So what should be the purpose of a church website?
New people. Absolutely new people. So, one of the great things about running a platform is I can look at Google Analytics across thousands and thousands of church websites. Everyone is focused on social media, but when you go to weekends of importance like Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, and you look at the referral traffic, it is overwhelmingly organic search. So we know that new people that are searching for churches are finding them through Google, which means that is your website, right? They're not going to randomly stumble across your Instagram account in that scenario. So in my mind, the church website for the most part is geared towards getting new people through your door. That lets you then take, your internal processes of following up people. Once we get them through your door, you can kind of take them from there. And there's always a section of the website for your existing members, but overwhelmingly for me, church websites is about getting new people into church.
Good. All right. So I know that one thing that you guys have found is that a lot of people pour a lot of energy, or used to pour a lot of energy into creating their website and a lot of energy into maintaining their website. One thing that I love that you guys do is really focus on the maintaining. So you have, scheduling tools where things roll off the website for events and things like that really help the church plan it out and not have to constantly maintain and update. And, that's the day after Easter, so I need to make sure I go in there and change that kind of thing. Is that right? And kind of walk me through your thought process there.
Yes. I'm personal pet peeve. If I'm visiting a church and, it's like, come visit our Christmas Eve service and it's February,
Right.
like we have the technology to know that it's past the 25th of December. Like we can update the website to reflect that. So basically I like to think of, the admin when I'm building a platform, like how can I make this easier on you so that, just put an end date on the content. So if Christmas is on the 25th, you put into the system, like Christmas is on the 25th, and then on the 26th, the system knows like that information is now old. We can archive it. The whole goal, like we see this so much in the space, is like you hire a designer, they come in, they design you this really fancy website, but then no one in the church can maintain it. And I think web designers are doing an injustice to churches when they put them in that scenario. It's just as important for the web designer to think, how will the person that I'm giving this website to be able to effectively maintain it? So for us, like we like to call ourselves a branded solution. Like when we set up your site, we build it for you. We set it on your brand standards. Anyone in your church that you want to have access can log in and make changes. You make them an admin account, and you're not, you can kind of sleep peacefully at night knowing that you're not going to come back and the site's going to be completely off brand, because it should be as easy as saying, oh, we're launching a new service at 11 a.m. Like, okay, new service time, 11 a.m. Like the website, we have the technology. Like we can just list that out without requiring any sort of design or, coding ability. So it's really important to us. Like I want to hand over a site to a church, and in a year, I want it to look just as good and still be visually appealing and mobile responsive.
Good.
I'm really sorry, but I think my neighbor is cutting their grass.
Oh, I can't hear it.
If you hear anything in the background, that's what's happening.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so tell me more. I mentioned the kind of the event system that you guys use. Tell me about that a little bit more, and why should churches move to this approach? You dove into that some, but give me a little bit more on the event system.
Well, one of the things to keep in mind, like again, you don't want outdated information on your website, but you also want to show that, like when you get involved in this church, like there's activities that you can be a part of and there's things happening. Like it adds this element of life to your website. Because, some people don't know why they should attend church yet. And maybe they're coming just for those events. Like maybe I'm new to the area and I have a child in high school, and I see on your homepage, like you have a youth night on Friday that's coming up. I mean, that's a great scenario that like might get a family into your church that normally doesn't come to church. And those events just kind of highlight really special things that you're doing, or you have fall fun night, like it's October, those things are coming up. Like those are a great way to show what you're doing in the community, and kind of special events outside of your normal services just helps like encapsulate that life that we know the church has life. Like we need to show it to people, and the event system does that really well.
So one thing I love about the event system too is not just with events, but you can use it, and correct me here, you can use it on blogs, definitely events, but like sermons, and maybe use it for campuses, different ministries, that sort of thing too, right?
Yeah, so there's like kind of two concepts in web. I think there's like static content, is content that doesn't change. Maybe that's a list of your staff or your mission statement. And then there's dynamic content, which is usually like a feed, like think of your Facebook feed. It changes every time you go to it. And I think it's really important for a church to be using both of those things. Like, sure, enter your mission statement, that's not going to change, but also show that things are happening around church with these items. So in our system, we have blogs, events, prayer requests, sermons, and we have a category system. So you can tag, let's say you have 3 campuses, you're a larger church. You can tag your events by the campus, and your sermons by the campus, and the blogs by the campus. And then on your website, you can have a page for that campus that has, some static content like your service times, but you can also dynamically read in all the blogs and events and sermons that are relevant to just that campus. So it's kind of that whole work smarter, not harder. If you were to do that in a static system, it's going to be manually logging in and moving things and updating all the time. But with a dynamic system, just by adding the right tags, you can kind of set these pages to kind of live and breathe a little bit, which again, shows that your church is doing things, shows that events are happening and blogs are being written, and shows that life again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the automation. The automation does really, really help. I think we've found that a lot in our ministry, in that even, calendar and things out, or tagging things and setting it and forget it kind of thing helps us do more ministry faster. And I think that's true for churches, in that, like, if your blogs are already set up, your events are already set up, the sermons are already set up, the all that's already set up on your website, then you're not taking time to manually go in and do it. And it also just saves with time, and it looks like you're doing more. If like you're automated over here and then you're off doing something else.
Yeah. And I think one thing that a lot of designers kind of forget is they think in that moment, or say you're trying to come up with your new tool that you're going to rebuild a website and you're choosing a tool. A lot of people will think like, how easy is it for me to build a website? But in reality, like, once the website is built, the majority of your time will be those things you just listed: adding an event, adding a blog, adding a sermon. And those should not take any web design skill at all. It should just be, plug and play. This is the name of the sermon. This is the graphic that goes with it. This is the date it was spoken. And I think if you focus on a system that's real static and real design heavy, it's going to be a lot harder to maintain, which is going to take more time away from you spending with the people in your church.
Right.
So an automated system that works on tags lets the designer set up a really nice page, and then someone else can just go in and say new sermon, and you kind of know that that's going to go into the page and look great.
Yeah, good. All right, you guys did some research on the most visited pages on a church website. Tell me the top 4 or 5.
Oh, see, when did I do that? I should find the exact blog post to make sure I don't. But from memory,
I can feed you if you need me to. Wink, wink.
Okay, so from memory, the homepage is like almost overwhelmingly the number 1 page, right?
All right, so here's the quiz. That's right, homepage number 1. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, homepage is number 1, and that's why it should never just be like a lot of people will do like a page and then click enter. Don't do that. Like, this is your one chance. Like, majority of people are going to hit it. Like, highlight the key information for a new person to become a regular visitor. Homepage is number 1. So I like to exclude it because it's obvious. Number 2, about page. I'm sure of that. One thing that I see churches do a lot is they put a tab at the top called about, and you cannot click it. It'll have like 5 sub-nav things under it, but you can't click that about. And that about page is so important. Like, even if it just kind of highlights what you would put in those underlying tabs, like, you should have a page that's like an overview of that content. Because for a new person, we found that is the second most visited page. So maybe they hit your homepage, they're trying to decide if they want to visit. They are clicking about to learn who you are, what you're about, what the type of service is, what it's like to attend. That page. Number 3, I don't remember. I'm going to go with kids. I think I'm wrong. It's not kids.
Wrong. All right. It is podcasts, sermons, and media.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so this one I think is skewed, because I think a lot of these stats, people that are listening to podcasts, sermons, and media are your people that are already going to your church, which is good. We want a place for them to find that in case they missed a sermon or they want to go back. But it is number 3. I would say that it's probably the number 1 most, it's the highest page that people spend the most time working on each week. But knowing that it's the 3rd most visited page, it would actually be maybe more strategic to do a 1 week where you're really focusing on your about page and making that like the life of the website. Because that's the thing that gets new people in. New people then go to the sermons page.
All right, can you get number 4? These get tough.
Events.
That is correct. Events.
All right. So events. Yeah. And again, that's because people are looking for things that you're doing. It could be a new person thinking, okay, great. They do services. What else do they do? Or it could be an existing member being like, what's coming up in the life of church?
Yeah. And then the last one is team or staff. And so this is one thing that I've really noticed is, in your top 5, there's about, or the visit about us kind of page, and then the team staff page. These are 2 of the top 5. So your homepage, your about, and your staff page are the 3 3 of the top 5 areas that people are going to. So one, it tells me, we need to make sure that these are solid, and we spend time making sure that these are well crafted and we put the right information on there. Mm-hmm. And 2, easy to get to. Like I remember last year when the pandemic first started, I went through like 50 to 100 different websites and just did a deep dive into streaming and just kind of a report on what I saw. And one of the major things that I saw is it was hard to get to stuff. And I'm like, especially like your live stream, which all of us were live streaming. Like, I should not have to dig for this. And so I think the same is true with the about or the team pages. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Like we kind of have our strategy and structure that we do for all the websites. So we at the homepage, we always do like an active tense mission statement. So if your mission statement is to reach the people of the Orlando area, like make it a call to action, like reaching the people of the Orlando area. Second thing, a brief 1-sentence, 2-sentence about us with a link to the about page. That catches all the new people, right? So like, hey, we're really glad you're here. This is who we are. This is what we believe. Do you want to learn more? And a lot of people will click that button to get to the about page. And for now the about page to me is like an overview of who you are as a church. It's your chance to speak to this new person and tell them like what you are about. So that's, our mission statement, our vision statement, our staff, our team, our core beliefs, all of that can be highlighted on a single page. I prefer to do things on one page because people overwhelmingly scroll like they do on Instagram. And so they might scroll real quick and skip 3 and see 1. But if it's all on one page, like people don't often click to 3 or 4 pages when they're visiting a website. You usually get like 1 or 2 clicks at most. So you really want, like you said, if everyone's online, like that call to action, since you can't plan a physical visit, should be attend online. Like first button you see. Right. And then you should have a really clear navigation. One thing I will say about that navigation, don't fall into the trap that you need a lot of submenus. It actually overwhelms people and they're less likely to make a choice. If you have 3 or 4 really great options and those lead to pages where you have more options, you'll have a higher time on site and people will actually be able to find things easier than if you give them all the choices at once. And I'm happy to stand by that if you need a person to blame it on when you're talking to your pastor.
I am. Right. Feel free to throw us under the bus.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. To not overwhelm. I've seen websites with like 15 things under each tab. It's too much. Ridiculous, crazy. Okay, so let's talk about multi-site or multi-campus churches. What are some best practices in creating your website for a multi-site environment?
Yeah. So again, with the categorizing and tagging of content, of the dynamic content that we talked about, I think make it really clear what content goes with what campus. A lot of the mistake I see people make with multi-site campuses is trying to push a global vision on people. Like, hey, we're part of this bigger thing. That's step 2 or 3 in a user's journey. The new visitor, they don't need to know the full global vision of your church yet. They need to know that they've driven past your Orlando campus. I'm using Orlando because that's where I'm originally from, but they've driven past your Orlando campus and they want to know the service times for this Sunday. So a lot of people will think global top, we have 10 campuses. This is the Orlando. Like the user, you don't want to make them come through that tree to find the Orlando services. They're probably going to bail and not attend. So think local first. And then once they've attended a service, you can introduce them to the fact that, you have 3 campuses in Florida and you have 10 campuses around the world. Those are all steps 2 and 3. But always think local person coming to local campus before you think big, great vision. I think there are some exceptions. If you're a large mega church, like either the ones we've worked at, a lot of the website visitors aren't physically located in a place that they could attend a service. So that changes the strategy again a bit, but I think that's why it's important to maybe not always go off of what large mega churches do strategy wise, because a lot of times the strategy doesn't apply to a local church. So if you're going to list your campuses, make it really easy on the homepage. Here are our locations and list your 3 campuses. once you're on that campus page, like use your tags to bring in the right information, and always set your SEO settings on those campus page to be very specific to the local area and the things that people would be searching locally. Yeah.
So I think practically, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and this might conflict with your, enter the website kind of splash page, but you might have a list of 3 campuses, and I'm going to click on my like bubbles, and I click on, okay, I'm going to go to the South Orlando campus, and then I click that and I go into the website. Would that be correct? Practically speaking, that's what I need to see first.
I wouldn't put just the 3 campus there and force anyone to make a decision.
Okay.
I would still have a homepage that says like your vision statement. I would still have a single call to action like plan a visit. And maybe if plan a visit then breaks out to select a campus.
Okay.
But I still think before, like imagine I walked up to you and just said like, choose one of these 3 things before I introduced myself to you.
Right.
I think it's still like really important, like make that heading and that first intro text be really welcoming, like the same as if you walked up and saw that person in a store, like you're going to talk to them before you say, so which one are you coming to? So still do that introduction and then like kind of feed into those choices.
Great.
Also, if your SEO is done well enough, if you're searching in the South Orlando campus and you're in the South Orlando area, hopefully like you land right on that campus page.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. Due to SEO. Okay, so let's get into this. This is one thing that you found that's interesting that you saw on a lot of websites is that Jesus was missing from the website. So tell me what you guys found and what are some things that you guys are doing about it?
Yeah, this came from my time at Hillsong. We spent years rebuilding this website. We talked about our bands, we talked about our campuses, we talked about our outreach, we talked about our music, everything, senior pastors, local pastors. And it just hit me one day, like, we haven't mentioned Jesus. Like we've mentioned all about everything that has to do with church, but we are not targeting any reason for someone that doesn't know yet why they should attend church. Like we talk all the time about next steps in church, right? If you're new to church, here's your next step. If you're new here, plan a visit. We almost never talk about that first step, which is, who is Jesus? Why should I care? Why do people go to church? And I think if church websites start addressing this, we might see a boom in attendance. Like because if I randomly come across your website and I'm not a believer, I'm probably just going to move on. But if you kind of like hook me in with captivative like stories, tell me why I should believe before you ask me to attend. It's going to be a different user journey, or at least you've planted a seed or a thought that they might think about for a bit. It's one of our missions is kind of to ensure that there's a Jesus tab on church websites now, where, if a new person comes to the website, they can learn about who Jesus is before, they learn about who your church is. There's a chance that if they're on your website, they already know, and that's good. But I think we should also use the websites as a tool for ministry and not just kind of like assume, if you're on a church website, you're likely already a Christian. That's not always the case.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. So they say that people have 3 seconds when a visitor lands on your website to communicate your message. Is that true? 3 seconds is it?
That it's a couple years old. I'd say that's still right? You get 3 seconds to ensure that you have grabbed their attention and they can make a next step after that. But the general rule is 3 seconds. So whatever you're going to say it quickly.
All right. Just some random questions here. All right. Is a picture worth 1,000 words on a website? Does the image work better than text?
100%. Yes. You do not need to explain to me in a paragraph of text what I should wear if you show a photo of what people are wearing.
Great. All right. Here's another great tip that I thought was really good is talk in the present tense. And you mentioned this a little bit earlier. We're reaching Orlando for Jesus, right? Our mission is to reach Orlando for Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of walk me through that a little bit more.
I think when I hear people's mission statements, they're always written internally. You write them when you're planting your church and you're like, this is our goal that one day we might do this thing. That is great internal language. It's not great external language. Like if there was a movie coming up and it was like, our mission is that you might enjoy this movie, that sounds like a really awful movie that I definitely don't want to attend. But if you're like, the most action-packed movie of all time, I'm like, all right, I'm coming. When is it premiering? Let's do this. Like, I think we have to talk about our missions in the present tense as things that are actually happening. It's also very biblical, right? Like, you speak out, what you want to see. Like if you want to be healed, like, you start speaking and you start living in a way that's, like, you start praying for these things. I think it's important that in our language, we also speak and talk as if these things are coming to pass. So if you are trying to reach the Orlando area, don't say, oh, I'm trying to do this thing. Just say, we are reaching the Orlando area. Because at minimum, that's something that a user can get behind, like a website visitor can get behind. Oh, you reach that? I'm cool. I want to see what that is. Like, it kind of like excites me to get behind that a bit. So talk in present tense as if things are actually happening, even if they're not. Like, just go for it anyway.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Last question for you. Tell me about your online church platform. Mm-hmm. You have a service where I can put my live stream in, and then I have a window with different options, announcements, chat, that sort of thing on the right-hand side. Tell me about that. We're
really big on keeping people on your website. And so for us, when we looked at running church online, we thought, how can we do this? We already have a website. We don't need to link people away to something else. Like, we can do this on the website. And the beauty here is that all of the next steps that someone could take are already on your website. So for us, we have the live stream there. We have the ability for the pastors to add a sermon note outline that you can just have there right on the right and follow along. We have digital prayer. You can submit a prayer request and people can pray and say, I've prayed, or celebrate with you for praise. Or salvation forms, like, you can add a form, like, I've decided I've prayed this prayer, fill out this form. It goes into your next step queue. We have live chat. And you can kind of join the congregation and chat along before and after service. What's really, I think, cool, is that you can pair these things with, like, our Connect group system as well. So you could put, because it's all on your website, like, say you're running a group of small groups, like, each small group that has their own page of the website could have their own church online system, and you could have your own chat going, your own prayer feed, all of that. It's really cool. We actually just launched a feature as well last week called Church Offline, because we realized that 99% of the week, people that hit your online page just see a come back on Sunday. Like, right. Imagine you open Netflix and it said, oh, you can only watch this between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Like, right. Cancel subscription. So for us, like, we introduced this Church Offline. So as soon as your live stream ends, you can schedule in content that'll be there for the rest of the week. Great. So if I'm a new person, say I don't yet know Jesus, and I'm like, right. Okay, I'm keen, I want to watch a service, and it's, Thursday night, like, you can put in some content, even if it's last week's message, like, you can put in some content there that's scheduled, and that'll be there. And I won't just hit like a page that's, kind of blank. Yeah, man, I'm so glad that you said this. I've been mentioning this in workshops that I've been teaching lately, and that is super frustrating to go, and it's like off the air, color bars kind of thing. I'm like, put something there, a welcome video, you have weeks of sermon content, play old sermon content, play something, like, put something in there, or welcome video saying, hey guys, we're going to be here Sunday. Here's about our church. Here's what you can expect, like, something there. So I'm so glad that you mentioned this and are launching that, because I think it's needed. And also like, it's great. I think that, why can't, if it's online, why can't we have a Tuesday night service? Why can't we have you know what I'm saying? You're speaking my language. Like, I come back to Netflix. Like, imagine you could only watch Netflix in given series. Like, we have to shift. Right. There's always going to be power when believers gather together, but I don't think we can't limit God in a way to say that, like, watching a replay, God can't move. Like, there's no reason why we can't gather any time of the week. I think the church right now is in a place that we have to shift our thinking on this. Like, we have to say, hey, if it's better for you to do church on a Friday night, we got a small group of people that are doing church on a Friday night. Right. Like I said, I was telling you before, I lived in New York for 3 years before moving back here. Sunday mornings are not big in New York. Like, New York is a nightlife scene. And I think, churches that you see doing really well have often have like a midweek night service that's just not the traditional Sunday morning gathering. And it works really well for them.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I'm kind of a both and kind of guy. I like the physical environment. I think that the website could help us get people to our physical location. Mm-hmm. But am I, we can't have community online? No, of course we can. So I'm kind of a both and kind of guy, hybrid model. Okay, so let's kind of wrap this week, and I want you to come back next week, and we're going to talk about local SEO tips. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but and we'll hit on this next week, is how do I optimize my website for Google, especially locally? So we'll get you back next week, man. But thank you so much for hanging out this week. I appreciate the time, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, this is Justin from Mr. Church Marketer, and I want to encourage you today as a church leader, whether you're a volunteer, a lay person, part-time, full-time, intern, however you are serving your church. I want to encourage you today, and yes, even convict you a little bit, in that the way we do church, the way we carry ourselves, and the way we technologically carry ourselves needs to be above reproach. God sets high standards for pastors. He sets high standards for deacon and elders, but we also need to follow in those footsteps. And I want to challenge you today, in the world of technology, when church budget is tight, when personal funds are limited, there is still no excuse to use pirated software in ministry. I understand the struggle, but God will provide. Pirated software, whether you personally believe it or not, is illegal, and it is frowned upon and socially irresponsible. And if you get caught or discovered, you could be misrepresenting the great King that we serve and the kingdom that we desire to grow. So if you are using pirated software, number one, I understand. I've thrown away binders of pirated software, pirated copies of movies and CDs and software, because God personally convicted it. And today, my intention is not to convict you, but rather to encourage and spur you on and sharpen you a little bit. Toss that pirated software away, uninstall it, get rid of all sources of it, and come to terms with the fact that we need to work in a unique way, whether that's open source software. There's open source software for almost everything. You just got to Google it or Bing it. Or just use what's available, Canva, or just go to one of the great Facebook groups like Making Sunday Happen and go find alternatives, because we want to be above reproach. And if we stay honest and full of integrity, God will reward that. So let's be above reproach in everything we do. God bless. And if you have any questions about some of that open source software, or if you have any, which is basically free to use, it's basically fan developed. That's how I think about it. If you have any questions about that, shoot me a message on Facebook at Justin Nava, JustinNava. I'd love to make your acquaintance, be your Facebook friend, and we can carry on this chat in the DM about how we can either find money in the budget or some open source alternatives for you to use. God bless.
The show notes for this episode are available now at MakingSundayHappen.com.
Well, hey guys, we really enjoy coming to you each and every week. It is a team effort. Our show is edited by AJ Schubert. It is posted and distributed by Daniel Stavanis, with social media content and distribution provided by Jordan Crawford, Jason Bozeman, and Steve Dirks. We love you guys. We love serving you. Next week on the show, I'll welcome Paul Cox back as we'll talk about 6 ways that you can increase your local search engine optimization, your SEO. Very unique, but easy practical tips that you can use starting next week. Paul will return next week on the show, so be sure to come back for that. And give us a like if you would, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also join our growing community of church leaders, staff, and volunteers on Facebook in our Making Sunday Happen Facebook group. We'll go out there and create some incredible worship experiences this weekend. I'll catch you next week.
Making Sunday Happen is a production of the ministry of 1230 Media. For show notes, archive episodes, and more free resources for your church, visit MakingSundayHappen.com.